What is going on, guys? My name is Sujoy. If you're new to this channel, I've been posting some fitness related content and some mental health related content the past few weeks. I just got my Sony camera from my parents, picked it up, so pretty excited about it. It's going to be all about consistency for me, which is a practice that fitness has taught me. So without further ado, I really want to use this video to talk about the 4 to 5 exercises that I've used for each body group in the last 7 years of training that have given me the most gains. And mind you, this isn't the most optimal way. I am someone who does work. For the last 7 years, I've been working as a healthcare worker. Started with 5 days a week, 40-hour week, moved to 4 days, and now I work 3 days, 3 12-hour shifts. So I just want to put that out there to give you guys kind of perspective as to how I get the time to do the things I do, and so that you're not comparing, because we are all different. We all have different circumstances. So that is huge and key to, I think, sharing information like this. But I do believe that from my experience and time spent in the gym over the last 7 years, there are a couple of exercises that I haven't changed. Like what I used to do back in day one, back in those days where I went to Blink Fitness with my boys and was able to do like 10 sets of 10 of things, which is crazy now that I think about it. Those exercises still remain today in my routine. So let's get into it. I actually wrote it down. So let's start off first with chest. One of the biggest things that before I even get into that, I want to talk about body weight exercises. I think as someone who was very skinny growing up, doing body weight exercises came pretty naturally to me because, I don't have much weight to push up or pull up or like to do dips with. So I was able to do those pretty easily. So I think that served as a great kind of base for everything that came afterwards. So for example, chest. I was pretty good at doing push-ups. That stayed consistent throughout my years of working out before I even got into the gym. But in terms of exercises that I've done in the gym and continue to do today, number one, some sort of incline press. So initially, I was a big believer of barbell movements. I think it was more about an ego thing and also like a rite of passage. The bench press seemed to be the biggest. That was like the Mount Everest for people trying to hit 2 plates, right? And for me, I've always sucked at bench pressing, barbell bench pressing. So it never came easy to me, and at times I felt defeated, and I completely ignored my upper body for many years because I just wasn't seeing progress. So I focused on my lower body, which was growing pretty easily. I'm also 5'6", so my lower body grew pretty rapidly, and my upper body, I just had to work and learn things that worked for me. But some sort of incline press, some sort of flat press as well, and last but not least, some sort of fly movement. So specifically what I do now in year 7 compared to year 1 when I was trying to bench press is my first working movement is an incline dumbbell press. I find that this gives my shoulders the best stability and I feel super secure. I'm able to get a really deep stretch and open up my chest cavity before pushing up. I truly believe that's how I've gotten so much progress, and that's happened in the last 2 years, I would say, of really focusing on my form, my range of motion, and specifically through the incline dumbbell press. So that's number one. Number two, I do a flat press, but I always do it in a machine if I'm able to. I believe that machine gives me the ability to really progressively overload without fear of injury. That's really what it is. Like my shoulders just feel super secure when I'm able to do it in a flat machine, and I can really take my time with the tempo and feel that stretch. And the third movement, the fly, I used to do them with dumbbell flies, and now I just try to do some sort of pec fly or cable fly because I feel the most time and tension in my chest. So moving on, after chest, back. So the movement that really helped me create a good base was the pull-up. Back when I was 96 pounds and just wanting to put on a little bit of muscle on my tiny ass frame, I remember buying one of those pull-up bars you could put on like a door sill, and that was my go-to. So I would do pull-ups before I entered the kitchen. So that really helped me develop a good base. But the movements I did in the gym that really helped me with my back, number one, the deadlift. I do think the deadlift is a great posterior body, like lower body exercise for the hamstrings and the posterior chain. But at the time, I don't know why, I was doing the deadlifts for my back, and it does help your back for sure. I think the deadlifts definitely work out your back as well. But yeah, I was doing deadlifts. Number two, the lat pull downs. I think the lat pull downs are incredible. Yeah, I think that goes without saying. Number three, some sort of wide grip row. So what I do is I try to do some sort of wide grip row to work on my width. And then the fourth movement, I do a narrow grip row to work on thickness. And you can do that in a variety of ways. But those are the four movements that I used for my back. Deadlifts, lat pull downs, wide grip row, and the narrow grip row. And I do see a lot of people on the internet now talking shit about the lat pull down. And although I'm sure when I first started working out, I wasn't really targeting the lats the proper way, I truly believe when it comes to fitness, it's trial and error. You have to figure out what works, and it's gonna connect. Like, it's gonna hit you, you're gonna feel it, and you're just gonna know when you're really targeting your lats, and you'll get better at it, I promise. Just keep at it. Third, legs. So the bodyweight movement that really helped me with this was lunges. Like, pretty good at lunges, really good with my ankle mobility, so I think that translated well to something like the squat, which is the number one movement that I use to really grow my legs. So squat. Number two was the leg press. Leg press, I think you can really load it up and do a variety of stances, wide grip, narrow, if you'd like. And then the third thing was the quad extensions, leg extensions. That's bread and butter. Still do those. Hamstring curls. I think those are great too. And for me, the biggest thing when it comes to hamstrings and growing hamstrings is that it is a curl, like when I'm doing a lying hamstring curl, I'm trying to get my heel to my butt. I'm trying to make it touch, like for a full curl, hamstring curl. And if you want to fill up those shorts this summer, that's how you do it. Build those hamstrings and make sure you get the best range of motion that you can possibly get. And the last exercise for legs that I've always used, calf raises. Now, there are the seated calf raise machine, and there's a standing one. I prefer to use the standing one. I just feel like I get way better contraction in my calves, and I'm able to really feel the stretch at the bottom aspect, not just the top when you squeeze, but at the bottom. So I think that's really, really important. So I use the standing calf raises when it's available. When it's not, I'll do the seated one. All right, the last muscle that I want to talk about, shoulders. So when it comes to shoulders, three things. Dumbbell shoulder press. I have tried overhead press. I'm not gonna lie. I think that is the hardest compound movement in terms of like the squat, bench, deadlift, and then overhead press. I think overhead press is very difficult. But dumbbell shoulder press, that's always been my go-to. As time went on, I understood that having a slight incline helps me with my shoulders, just keeping them healthy. I don't feel any pain, and it just feels much more natural, and it allows me to get a deeper range of motion. So dumbbell shoulder press, lateral raises, and I do them in a variety of different ways. Dumbbells, cables, also there's that machine that you can get at the gym that you'll see. I think that's great too. And the third exercise for shoulders that I've used and I kind of went away from, but I've gone back to, are the upright rows. I really think it helps just build width and build those cap shoulders. But lateral raises are your bread and butter. Just do them for a long period of time and you'll get nice shoulders. So Chest, back, legs, and shoulders. I just covered those muscles. I think over the last 7 years, one thing I've learned is that consistency is more important than perfection. Like, more often than not, I'm not feeling 100%. I don't have the best workout, but the consistency has been the most important aspect of this journey, because what it's taught me is you don't have to be perfect. You just have to go, especially when you don't want to, especially on those days you're not feeling 100%. If you're feeling 80% and you go, you're giving 100% of what you got that day. And I think it's important to be just proud of yourself for doing that. And it took me a long time to understand that aspect of it. But today, 7 years later, where I'm sitting right now, I think consistency is the most important thing. I think number two, curiosity is so important. I can't tell you how many times over the last 7 years, I've met, friends, colleagues, whatever, who have started working out but then give up because something doesn't work for them, or like a movement, they don't feel good about it, so they just give up. But I think it's so important to be curious enough to want to learn, to go out there, do some research, or try things out and figure out what does work for you. Because I promise, just because something works for someone and it doesn't work for you doesn't mean there's not a different way of doing that movement or that exercise that will work for you and your body. At the end of the day, yes, I've given you certain exercises that a lot of people do, but the way you do it is going to be very subjective to you, your body, how much your range of motion is, whatever, So really be curious enough to understand that there are going to be roadblocks. It's up to you to explore and figure out what works for you. So consistency, curiosity. Number three is, people talk about it all the time, but if you really want to build lean muscle, progressively overload. And there's plenty of ways to do it, I'm sure you guys know, but number one, increase the weight, the load over time safely. And from experience, I didn't do that safely. As a young kid, I was throwing weight around at the time because the weight was going up, especially when it came to like lower body stuff. The weight kept increasing. I was like, oh my God, I'm so strong, I'm gonna keep doing it. But I think it's important to do it safely, but at the same time, you need to push yourself, because if you keep doing the same weight for 5-6 months and you don't push yourself, you can't really expect your body to grow, right? It just doesn't make sense. You have to be able to you need that fire in you to push yourself, but in a safe way. But I think it's important to kind of step into a danger zone once in a while to just push yourself. Figure out like where is the danger zone for you, because if you don't put yourself into that new territory, like that's a territory you do want to get to one day safely, obviously, but if you don't put yourself there once in a while, that you'll never really know what it feels like. You won't feel that pressure or that load or that weight. So increasing the weight, the load. Number two, increasing the number of sets or the reps, which is total volume. I think another way is the time under tension. Now this is something that I've learned towards the last 3-4 years. It's about execution. So as you put more time into the gym and more years, you get diminished returns. You're not making as many gains as you did when you first started off, right? Like I said, when I first started off, the weights were increased. Like I was able to push more, I was able to squat more, deadlift every week. And then there comes a time where you kind of plateau. That's where the curiosity comes in. You need to figure out ways to get out of that rut. But it's very natural. It happens to everyone. And there's plenty of ways to do it. There's programs out there you can follow that'll help you get out of those ruts. There are things you can do about your nutrition that'll help you in your training techniques, whatever it is. But it's up to you to figure it out. The information is out there, guys. I think it's important you figure it out for yourself. So execution. The more time you spend in the gym, the more years, you realize how important that hour is when you're there. because for many of us, the gym isn't our entire day, right? When I was young, it was a huge part of my day. I truly look forward to it. I'm sure I spent 2 to 3 hours with my boys just working out. But now, when I have much more responsibilities, and there are other things I want to do with my life than just be in the gym. I've learned to understand that if I can make each rep as perfect as possible for me, perfection isn't a real thing, but just trying to execute it a little bit better every single time, I'm just squeezing the most juice out of that like lemon as I can. And that's so important to me as I get more and more into my fitness journey, now 7 years in. So I think it's important to look at execution as you go on, but that comes with consistency. The more consistent you are, the more aware you will become with range of motion, execution, time under tension, those little things, those little details. But I think it's also important not to skip steps. So throw yourself into there, build consistency. With consistency and curiosity, you're gonna learn what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And I know I keep saying consistency, you guys, but that is truly the secret sauce. There's no secret behind it. I think if you're natural and you are doing this there are plenty of reasons to do it. I started because insecurities, I was always small, and it slowly turned into just something that became a part of my life. And now I'm trying to use the lessons I've learned and I've taken from something like the gym and I'm applying it to other areas of my life, whether it's like my mental health or my personal relationships, or just bettering my life in every possible way I can, because I believe that fitness is a metaphor for life. What you put in is what you get out. So keep working. I will try to be as consistent as possible with this. That's my goal, 2 videos a week. And with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.